Afternoon. See, I got it right. Afternoon. First time. I'm so happy to be here and to be able to lead us in a bit of meditation this morning. And I'm going to start by ringing our mindfulness bell 3 times. And it is said that this bell brings us back to our true home, that inner sanctuary, the cave of our heart, where we know the truth of who we really are. So we'll ring the bell 3 times. One of my favorite mindfulness teachers, Pema Chodron, likes to say that you are the sky, everything else is just the weather. And this saying reminds me that we are all magnificent, vast beings of unlimited potential, and that our thoughts have great power, and that they have the wisdom to be our weather, and we have the choice whether to bring sunshine or to bring showers in our life. And our founder, Ernest Holmes, says, we must think peace if we wish to express peace. The mind that is always confused and distraught is not at peace. The mind that is continuously upset or agitated by the little petty things of life is not at peace. It is at war with itself. It is only when the individual mind ceases combating itself that it will stop combating others. So let us set aside this time to practice peace together. So I encourage you all to gently close your eyes, to sit comfortably and at ease, and just appreciate your body's connection to the earth. And take several full breaths and just let yourself be still. You can mentally check in with yourself and bring kind attention to your physical body and your mental body. No judgment, just rather bringing some awareness to what your natural starting point is this afternoon, your climate. And bring a slight smile to your lips, the half smile of the Buddha. Just that tiny little bud of a smile on your lips nourishes awareness and can calm you, and it can return you to the peace that you think you'd lost. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that a smile is the most basic kind of peace work. So just that gentle smile. And sit with a sense of dignity and centeredness, like the Buddha that you are, and feel your capacity to face anything that arises. Listen to the sounds around you and notice how they come and go, arise and vanish. Listen just in an open and relaxed way. You can bring your attention to the flow of the breath as it moves in and out of your body, and let each breath bring a sense of calm and ease. And feel yourself opening in body, heart, and mind. You can become aware of the space inside your mind if you can. Imagine that your mind is expanding like the sky, open and clear and boundless as space. With each exhalation, you can feel awareness of your mind extending out in all directions like the sky, letting sounds and thoughts and sensations play across the sky of your awareness like clouds. They come and go without you grasping or having any resistance. And just notice with interest and with ease all that presents itself to you, knowing that you're filled with a clear light of mindful awareness. Notice how the breath breathes itself, gently moving through you as thoughts and images and feelings and sounds. And these all come and go in the openness of your expansive sky-like mind. One breath at a time in this vast open space of mind. You may hear and feel some of your vulnerability or sadness, confusion and fear, perhaps. You may hear your gratitude and your joy as well, your prayers and your blessings and your love. All is welcome. Receive everything, push away nothing. All are weather conditions in the limitless space of your sky-like mind, building your resilience and your compassion. With an open and spacious mind, you can hold all experience in loving kindness. And you can allow that magnificence in you to shine without constriction. In this open space of mind, all is without conflict, without limitation, without agitation. And you can feel the presence of peace. And this pure, open sky mind is your true nature. It's always available. So rest here in the vastness, observing the thought clouds as they move through the sky of your awareness. And rest as an open conduit for the universe to express itself through you as peace. And breathe in and out in gratitude and spaciousness. invite you to gently put a hand to your heart to affirm your connection to the light of peace that shines from the very depths of your being. Each breath brings a clear choice to practice fear or to practice peace. When you realize the sky-like nature of mind, you make peace a conscious choice, and everything else will flow more harmoniously. You can learn to live with an inner peace, and when that intention is set within that very deepest part of you, you'll see it manifest in the world around you. The peace in the world begins with you becoming more aware of who you really are. Knowing you are a beloved child of the universe, and that beneath the flurry of thoughts and sensations and experiences is that vast open sky that holds it all. A sky mind of peace and possibility, where you can choose peace at all times. There is an immense power in simply aligning with the divine peace in every moment. So now, if you'd like, bring to your heart and mind your friends and loved ones and radiate a sense of your love to them in your heart. And on this Memorial Day weekend, we can send the light of love and gratitude out to all those that have given their lives for our freedom. And now, especially as a duty, as a peace pilgrim yourself, bring to your heart and mind the leaders of the world, the children of the world, the species of the world, and radiate your care, concern, and love to them, sending waves of compassion, healing, peace, and love from your peaceful heart-mind into the heart of the world. And through the power and grace of the divine, we open in gratitude to all the selfless beings who choose to live and serve in the way of peace, and we count ourselves among those. And together we say, and so it is. call up the board to join me. Our own little peace train here. Oops. Cheryl's got a hairball. And I just wanted to introduce everybody to those of you. This is your board of trustees. These are the wonderful folks that are caring so diligently and with such heart and monitoring and securing the future of this center. We have Cheryl Stone, Johan Cron, Sheila McDonald, Molly Murray, Julie Cook, and Andrea Lanahan. And we are so pleased to be able to do this sacred duty for you. And we take it seriously, and we're excited about where we're going. We don't know where that is yet, but we're excited. And we're going forward wherever that means. And we've got some exciting things coming up. And the first thing we want to do as a group, wholeheartedly to welcome with great gratitude. And this really shows that our teachings really work, that things come forward just when you need them. And we'd like to introduce our newest board member and our new minister, Reverend Christine Jeffers. Group hug. And we'll sit there. Then we'll just
Group hug. No,
Group
don't
hug.
move, but group hug.
Group hug. Group
Leave
hug.
a little opening here. Group hug. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops.
Ellie there. Okay, Ellie.
The choker.
Okay, where did my announcements end up? Is it going to be one of those days?
No.
My announcements were up here. There they are. There they are. Sorry about that, Jay. So, good afternoon, everybody. It's the first time I've said afternoon also. I always like to add gratitude to my announcements because we all have so much to be thankful for. And I just want to give big love and thanks to our Board of Trustees for continuing to do that important work to keep our center vibrant and sustainable. And my warm welcome and aloha to Reverend Christine, our newest board member, and my first Science of Mind teacher right here at Hillary. So full circle, and I really like that it's happened that way. I also want to thank Cheryl Strawn and Scott Kronk for taking care of two of our center's cherished possessions. Scott did the hauling of both the grand piano harp and the dedication monument that was there since 1949. And Cheryl has brought them both to her house to store. Yes, I know. I think that's awesome. The monument is cracked. The harp is rusted, but it still tells the story and the history of our spiritual home on Billy Road. So I'm grateful for both of you, Scott and Cheryl, for your unconditional seva and willingness to do whatever we need. Much gratitude to our prayer ministry for always being available for each and every one of you. Gratitude to Jay back there in his happy place, the sound booth. We're going to have to build one at home, I think. It's just, yeah, I think so. And to Trevor Mox for taking care of our videography needs. Thank you, Trevor. And many thanks to Debbie Duffy, who is taking care of our social hour for us. Yeah. And of course, to Alan Rigg for being my favorite piano man. Billy Joel has nothing on you, Alan. And a special bit of thanks to Molly for continuing the practice of awakened heart meditation right here during our services, and on Facebook she shares a meditation each and every Friday. So thank you. That's so important to our congregation. So next Thursday, which is May 30th, from 6:15 until 7:30 in the evening, Reverend Christine is offering a meet and greet / open house for our center's congregants. There's going to be light snacks and dessert. And we're going to have that meeting at Sycamore Glen Active Senior Community. It's at 1199 Diablo Avenue in Chico. We're going to have follow-up gatherings there. We're going to have a 3-week gathering, beginning Wednesday, June 12th through the 26th, 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. So we're grateful for that. And you said it is okay if people can make one and not make the other. Each one stands alone. So if you can't make one, don't feel like you can't come to any of them, because you can. So see me or Reverend Christine after the service if you have any questions. I have cards in the social hall, small 3x5 cards with all of this information. So pick one up. And again, we're still on Facebook under Paradise Center for Spiritual Living. You can look at our website. It's kept up to date at paradisecsl.org. Look for eBlasts also. If you are not on my email list, let me know. I'm happy to put you there. And something I want to talk about that's really important is that right here at Hillary, there's free holistic healing services offered on the 2nd and 4th Saturdays from 2 until 4. And I think that's a really important thing that we can do for ourselves and ground ourselves in those services. So I think that that's it. So any questions? Sound booth guy back there.
And we'll be starting on the YouTube channel back up again, so our videography will be the work we've accomplished so far. We're just going to keep learning her community. So thank you again, Trevor, for helping me with that. So we're going live today.
Awesome. Thank you. That's good news. That's good news. So, Alan, did you want to play a second piece of special music? Okay. Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay. All right. So it is my honor to ask Reverend Christine to come up to the podium. Her talk is called Choose Peace Today, and we welcome her.
Okay, well, I just realized I need to get my glasses. So, before I go into my talk, I really need to say a couple of things here about what has happened. And I started meeting with the Board of Trustees at least 3 months ago. I've attended at least 3 meetings, maybe 4, but 3 for sure. And right from the very beginning, I was very impressed with the way that this group of women work together. They are clear what they are about, the business at hand, and there is a very strong connection amongst them. And I was particularly impressed. I saw this numerous times that different things would come up spontaneously in the midst of business that to some people might seem like, okay, we're going down this track, but all of a sudden we're turning left and going here. And yet that left turn had quite a contained short end to it, whatever it was that needed to be expressed. Sometimes it was about what one of them might be going through or dealing with post the campfire, the new situation, commenting on something that they perceive that this congregation, this beloved community is experiencing. And it was profoundly and yet lightheartedly expressed, and then right back to business. And I saw this time and time again and was so impressed with it, the clarity, the consciousness, the openness. And all the while, each one of you, each one of these board members is in their own process, just like everyone else. So I want you to know that since this conversation began about the possibility of me stepping into the minister position, that I have approached this and will continue to approach this as an open-ended opportunity to serve whatever it is that is the vision and the idea for newness as the Center for Spiritual Living Paradise and the collective consciousness of this group of people to midwife, if you will, to put boundaries of science of mind principle around it, to support each one of you individually according to your desire, to your needs at any given time, and to be totally open at the top to where this goes with no agenda on my part. And I am extremely clear about that. So I have a list of most all of your names and your phone numbers. So I intend to be about the business of making phone calls over the next couple of months. So don't be surprised if your phone rings and I go, "Hi, this is Christine Jeffers, your minister?" You know? And it can be a short conversation, and it can be a longer conversation. It could be not a good time right now. Whatever it is that it needs to be, and I make that phone call and extend that gesture just so you know that I am here for you. I also recognize and respect immensely what has gone before. The many, many ministers since 1949, and the wonderful commitment and service that Reverend Andy Torkelson has given, and I know just in a different way continues to give. He's a powerful presence, and I knew that when he came to class. And a very heartfelt individual that like me, whose life changed by applying these principles. And so I look forward to some collaboration with him according to where he is, and I actually I want to say that I hold lightly, but I see that maybe there might be a one day that he's here with us, and I would so love that. So so that's that, and so we begin. Okay. Okay. The open house on Thursday. Well, let me back up a minute. So the Sycamore Glen Active, very important term there, active retirement community here in Chico. My mom lives there, and she's lived there for quite some time. That's all right. And about a year ago, they asked me if I would work the front desk on occasion when somebody wanted to have time off or be on vacation. So I've been doing that for the last year, and comes out to something like about maybe 10 hours a month that I work, and but it's really given me an opportunity, especially um, November 8th and beyond, to see the way that they do business there and what they are about. So the Craig Congregational Church that's on Pearson, they are meeting there every Sunday. They have their service there at 11 o'clock, but they're going to be moving up a little earlier, I just heard. And Reverend Andrew from that church also goes over there during the week, and they do a Bible study. And so seeing that, I had in the back of my mind, I wonder if the Paradise Center could meet there. Well, some of what has unfolded since November 8th is that I see new residents at Sycamore Glen that were members or attendees recently or in the past. And so the question comes up, actually there are quite, I don't know, I'm not going to throw a number out, but there are a lot of really wonderful people there who have been connected with this church for a long time. So I think that a little bit down the road that I'm going to be inviting them. And eventually whatever it is that we do there eventually will be open to all the residents there to attend. Thursday evening is different than the Wednesday morning. Thursday evening is just a little celebration of what is happening. And then the following Wednesday, what I've scheduled is 3 Wednesday mornings. And what I am interested in from that time is to know where you are, how you are, what is it that you want and need right now in terms of your being together, community, your spiritual practice, grounding a little bit deeper into the science of mind principles, or time to just talk and have conversation, see what naturally comes up. And so what I'm looking at is that after 3 opportunities to be together, and you can come to each one of them, that would be lovely, because it's kind of a priming the pump. That we'll know more about what you want as a community, so that I can begin and we can begin to provide that. So that could look like short little workshops, maybe a standalone workshop, maybe a 3-week workshop where you commit to 3 weeks, maybe a Center for Spiritual Living certificated class like this thing called You, or the basics foundations, maybe a modified foundations, which would be more of an investment cost-wise and time, so that there will be something going on every week. And in the short term, we can have these meetings and workshops and classes at Sycamore Glen, as long as we can find a slot to fit into. So the Wednesday morning will be private. It will be just for you. It will not be open to Sycamore Glen residents. We'll be upstairs in the theater. There's an elevator. And I look forward to seeing you at all of it or whatever you happen to come to. So please ask whatever it is. 10 to 11:30 for the Wednesday morning, and that will be the 12th, June 12th, 19th, and the 26th. And as Julie said, she has it on a card. So any other ideas that you have, please let me know or any of the board members. Okay? Okay. um, so as I begin to segue into my talk, which is I choose peace. I want to acknowledge, there's a memorial candle here, and unfortunately, there's no candle or no lighter here. But I want to acknowledge, Alan, your Molly, Maggie, and Molly's over here, and that Maggie is a light. She's a light in her own being. She's a light in your heart. And I know that it is sad. And when I think about that, and the tendency to shy away from that because it is sad, and no one wants you to suffer. I also know that when we feel deeply for someone that has moved on, that is an indication of great love. Okay, and a very meaningful relationship. Ah, it's down here. Who would have thought? And I had the good fortune, Alan, of a few times seeing you and Maggie together. And that blessed me. And I know that she came into your life at just the right time. And that, and I also know as I light this candle for Maggie, I also know that these little beings of light, that within within themselves, that they are a being of consciousness, and when they are ready to move on, they do. And so while we know and stand with you in what you're in this transition that you're experiencing, that we know that at the heart of things that all is well. So I invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and join me in an affirmative prayer. And so as we take a deep breath and turn within to that place of the heart, I recognize that the heart is actually the living and the breathing organism of the heart of God. The heart of this divine, infinite love out of which all things have been created. And I know that that heart and that divine loving creation includes beloved Maggie. And so we bring our loving kindness, our own open hearts of compassion, of caring, of acknowledging the infinite number of ways that we as spiritual beings having a human experience are provided for. And one of those ways is through our pets. And I know for Maggie that the being that she is strong and healthy and vibrant, and that there is that within her that knows who she is and what she is about. I know that her time in this life experience with Alan has been a blessing to Alan, and it has been a blessing to Maggie as well, for it has given her her purpose that she has done and completed so well. And so we know and see that Maggie flies with the angels, that she is lifted up out of her bodily experience, and yet the soul of who she is, a being that has been created out of the loving mind of spirit, that she moves on into other realms of living, of being her purpose, of expressing the light and the joy and the vitality in only the way that she can do. And I know for Alan that Spirit is providing for him as well, that there has been healing within him because of the relationship and the openness to Maggie. And I know for Alan, I know for you, Alan, that you are strong, that you are solid, that you too know what you are about, and that you belong to Spirit as well. We are grateful that you are here with us. We are blessed, and we know you are as well. And we see you living in perfect divine right action, being provided for in love, in friendship, in companionship, in ways that are right for you. And so in gratitude, we release this prayer, knowing that Spirit is the very essence that is here right now, that healing is taking place, that hearts and minds are open, and that all truly is well. And together we affirm, and so it is. Well, as you know, this is Memorial Day weekend. And as we honor the way that Maggie has served, we also know that this is Memorial Day weekend is a time to recognize and to honor those men and women who have served our country, who have fallen, who have given of themselves in the name of freedom. Well, this morning, Dr. Carolyn McEwen was giving the message, and she had this flag here and told all of us that this was the flag that was presented to her by in honor of Dr. John McEwen, her husband, who was a veteran. And so, I would like to take a moment and to ask those of you that did serve in any of the armed forces, if you'd stand or raise your hands so that we could acknowledge you and your service, that would be wonderful. Yes, Michael Slattery. Well, there you go. Kind of unusual, but there you go. And Dr. John McEwen, who, as I think all of you know, was the pastor and the minister of the Church of Religious Science at 789 Billy Road. I think I still even remember the phone number. God knows I called it enough. So, let's see. So many things I didn't want to forget. Centers for Spiritual Living is continuing with our theme, our annual theme of spirituality in action. And for the month of May, this being the last Sunday, the attribute of spirit expressing is compassion. And the title for this Sunday is Choose Peace. So we all know that there are many circumstances in our lives, around the world, in our country, in our families, in our bodies, in our financial affairs, in our relationships, that at times are anything other than peace. And so there is this story that Neil Donald Walsh wrote called The Little Soul and the Sun that talks about the relationship between spirit and spirit's creation. And that at a spiritual level, we were created. We know that whether we're in human form or not, that we are one with our Creator, that we're first spirit. And so the story is God speaking to this little spirit that wants to have experience of itself, because it knows itself only as the light, only as love, only as peace and harmony. And it doesn't know anything else. It has nothing to compare with. So its perception of what it is not complete. And so God says to the little soul, well, as soon as you move into this other form, the human form, you will forget. You will forget that you are this beautiful radiant sun. There will be times when you will forget the truth of who you are. And the little soul says, oh, no way. I could never forget. But of course, the infinite mind is very wise. And it knows that the little soul needs to break away to experience itself as freedom, to experience itself as an individual that has choices to make. And so, here we are. All of these little souls roaming around, having all kinds of different experiences, and at times, forgetting who we are. Now, in and with the circumstances that we experience of life, if we think that those experiences, which at times we do, have nothing to do with us, then we are probably living the blame game. And I was reminded recently when I was in some of my own stuff, not really totally forgetting who I am, but navigating the waters of uncomfortable emotions and reactions about a particular event. Now, from time to time, you'll probably hear me refer to things like that frequently because I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, just like you. So it's not about not ever having those experiences. For me, it's about shortening the time that I forget that I'm a spiritual being and that I have been empowered to choose peace. And that sometimes, or all of the time, I actually forget that it's not about me. That whatever the circumstance is that I'm experiencing, that I'm taking personally, or whatever, really is not about me. That I have been created whole, complete, and perfect, and I have been free to choose and to continue to develop that which I know is the truth. Now, the rub is that we are surrounded by this collective consciousness, and we're not separate from it. We are individualized, but at the subjective level, at the subconscious level, there is a collective. And if you think that it's not affecting you, I'm here to tell you it is. And in a way, the collective consciousness of humanness is like brainwashing. And that we think we know what we're hearing or what we are seeing, but many of you have probably heard the saying, "What you think of me is none of my business." And so even if someone is actually telling you to your face what they think about you, and it's not positive, that is their perception. Now, Dr. James Golden, who is no longer at the Redding Center, but a very, very powerful consciousness, I had the opportunity to have a phone conversation with him about 8 years ago on this topic. And what I was asking him about in terms of what you think of me is none of my business, or how we all as human beings, we have to navigate the areas that we, in our teaching, we're told that we set ourselves free as soon as we take 100% responsibility for everything that is going on in our lives. 100% responsibility. Yes. And we need to remember that taking responsibility and blame are two completely different topics. That as soon as I take responsibility for something, I begin to free myself. And what actually happens when I say, what is this about and what do I want to experience, that just because I have asked the question, within my own consciousness, solutions and ideas and a greater truth begins to show up in my mind. Because I've moved from blame to I'm responsible. So I was asking Dr. James about this. And so, like in ministry, when things happen, or in our jobs, or in our relationships, and someone is literally blaming you, how do you know how to work with that? Because, see, that blame actually triggers a part of us that believes we are to blame, that believes that we are not enough, that we're inadequate, that we're not lovable, that we're not smart enough, that we've done something wrong, although we didn't mean to, and it's had an effect that is going to bring the sky down. Or simply that it's a validation. Yep, I can't trust myself. I'm not enough. Now, Spirit told the little soul, you're going to forget. And you're going to have experiences in this human experience that will give you opportunities to choose to be free and to choose to remember. And so Dr. James said, well, you know, when someone has an accusation towards you, especially when that is coming from a very heated point of view, we want to remember that there's one finger pointing out here, but many others pointing back at the self. And that Psychology 101 is about projection, which is where, it'll come to me, her name, what you think of me is none of my business, came from. Terry Cole Whitaker, right. So he said, and, you know, when we take responsibility in every single situation, there's an opportunity to learn something. And so as soon as we can get ourselves calmed down about things, we can begin to ask ourselves, well, is there anything that I heard in the accusation that I could take to heart? That I've heard before, maybe? Or that I just, you know, that when I settle down from this place of self-knowledge, that I go, yeah, there's something for me to learn here about a particular topic. One of the things that we forget is that we don't always hear the truth. I have a little example. There was an old man who was a bit hard of hearing, and he visited his doctor. He was very distraught and weak. And he was complaining to his doctor of chest pains. The doctor told him what to do and then sent him on his way. Well, a few weeks later, the doctor sees the old man walking through the park, holding hands with this beautiful young woman, and the old guy is just nothing but smiles. So the doctor is puzzled, and he approaches the old man and he says, well, my goodness, you look so much better, because the last time I saw you, you were so weak and distraught. And the old man says, well, I took your advice. You told me to go get a hot mama and be cheerful. And the doctor backs up and he shakes his head and he says, no, I told you that you have a heart murmur. Be careful. We are all hard of hearing when it comes to really hearing. And one of the reasons for that is because our emotions get in the way. That fight or flight, that trigger. And that is one of the most powerful things that we can do, is to ask ourselves, what is triggering my reaction? Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote an essay called Self-Reliance. And it was the first Emerson essay that Ernest Holmes came across in the Metaphysical Library in Los Angeles that began to really formulate his thinking about this thing called you, this thing called you. And here's a little expert. Now you have to remember that Emerson has a little different way of wording things, so you kind of got to listen between the lines. There is a time in every man and woman's education when he or she arrives at the conviction that envy is ignorance, that imitation is suicide, that he must take himself or herself, for better or worse, as his portion, that though the wide universe is full of infinite good, no kernel of nourishing corn can come to him but through his toil, bestowed upon that plot of ground which is given to him to till. The power which resides in her is new in nature, and none but she knows what that is which she can do, nor does she know until she has tried. God will never have his work manifested by cowards. Now I know because of what all of you or most of you have been through, that this can really, really speak to you. And that we all, at some point or another, have experiences in our lives that we call unbearable, that seem to be just more than we can handle. But the truth is that we can. The truth is that each one of us is this individualized consciousness that is here to remember who we are. And to remember that we can remember and choose peace. And so will we. And when we do, which we come back around to it, right? Sometimes only for little moments of time. But there we are. We forget about the conflict or the challenges that we're experiencing. And we have that moment, that sweet moment of peace and contemplation that we go, oh yeah, this is peace. And so we cultivate it. We plant more seeds of that. We pay attention to what works for us individually. We ask ourselves, am I living my life in a way that supports me right now with what I'm dealing with to till my own soil? To be there for myself. When I was sitting in service this morning, I heard the phrase, God is blessing us. And I thought, you know what? That's not true. That's not true that God is blessing us or is blessing me or guiding me. The truth is, we've all already been blessed. We've been absolutely, completely given the blessing. There's no more that we're going to be given than we've already been given. So what's the difference? What's the difference? How much of it am I going to take? How much of it am I going to allow? How much of the blessing that I've been given am I going to open to and accept is already mine by right of consciousness, and that I know who I am and who I belong to, and that's the end of the story. That's what it means to take responsibility. The word responsibility is such a dirty word in our society. Blame. Just turn on the news. Now, Dr. Carolyn showed a video, a very short video this morning. And if I had had time to get it and work it out with Jay to show it, I would have. But I want to share this with you because this is important. This young guy, a millennial, he made this video about we're being brainwashed. And as soon as I heard that word, a little like came up in me, brainwashed. And then he started talking about the news media and the perspective that we get. Here's the story. Like, that story is all there is to the story that they can do in a short little soundbite, or even on NPR when they do a really long thing, which is where I choose. But in a day on NPR, I hear the same story over and over and over again. You remember on 9/11, over and over and over again, we saw the Twin Towers go down. What did you hear and see over and over and over again after the fire? The negative. Yes, fantastic stories. I loved Facebook at that time because they were the stories of things happening and renewal and people getting in there and taking responsibility and helping others and being kind and compassionate. But too often, way, way too often, you start listening to the things that you hear, and it is negative, and it's brainwashing. And the reason that I thought this is so important for me to say this today is that Paradise is making strides. Things are happening. You guys know it's happening. You're more involved, I'm sure, and have ears around what's going on much more than I do. But just what I've heard, picking up the Enterprise record, looking at the little the Paradise Post insert in the paper, the negativity is starting. The decisions that are being made about the water, about whether it's in Chico, about whether it's the plant is up there, about so many things. This is just the beginning. And people are not going to agree. That's part of the experience. It's part of collaboration. It's actually part of the best outcome coming out of different opinions. So it's positive. And I think it's very, very important to be mindful that this is the beginning of the rebuilding of the town. And to have that discerning mind, to wake up and to look for the repetition, to look for the negative, and to protect yourself. To protect, as Ralph Waldo Emerson says, your soil, that which you have been given to know for this town, that there are positive answers, that the outcome is going to be good, that it's going to be new. And wherever you're called to get involved and be a part of it and have your voice heard, if that's the case, do it. Because the more involved we are in whatever it is that's going on at the center of the thing, we don't have to listen to the news for all of our information. We're the information. Do you hear me? Does this make sense? Dr. Holmes said the greatest discovery of mankind is when man said, I'm thinking. I just heard myself think. And I can choose what it is that I want to think. And what am I thinking? And to pay attention to it. I really think that this is what our veterans fight for. For our freedom to think, to choose, to trust our own mind. And just like the little guy that went to the doctor, to hear what we want to hear, even if it's a hot mama. Memorial Day can be very, very meaningful for us. And so in closing, what this whole thing about choosing peace comes down to is that we stop being aggressive and abusive to ourselves. That we stop arguing for our limitations. That we begin to stand up and speak from that place of knowing who we are. And that the emotions will rise up and follow what we choose to speak. And the toil, the soil that we choose to till will bear fruit. The blessing's already been given. And it is closer than your very breath. It is who and what you are. So let's go make something and do something with it and be happy. Happy Memorial Day. Namaste. Now we're going to have the offertory. Yes, and so I know that because we know that the gift has already been given, the blessing is already complete. I know that we know that there is that within us that is willing to receive. And so we open our hearts and our minds knowing that the gift has already been given and that we give from this place of knowing that we are always provided for. I know that the gifts and offerings to this center are used wisely, lovingly, and compassionately to support this idea and this teaching that all is good and all is God, and so it is. Thank you, God. And so we'll stand and sing the peace song? Okay?